Why, hello YouTube! Greetings from the LazyEyebrowReviewer. So it's time to move on from my universe and upgrade to the Masterpiece review. It's Masterpiece Bluestreak, a Datsun 280ZX, and right off the bat, this version of the Fairlady Trio has got to be one of my favorite. The gunmetal grayish gold just makes this car. Then add in that glossy black paint job and hot rockets, this thing is sexy. I mean, this thing would give Trax or Sunstreaker a run for their money.
Wow.
Okay. All over, we see details of the accuracy Takara has poured into this little sports car, giving him a high-end feel. Like, this is the pride and joy of some car enthusiast in the rich end of town. Just the way everything comes together about this vehicle is amazing. And dare I say it, I think I might love this thing more than Sideswipe and Prowl combined.
Because it's sexy.
One point I didn't mention in my Prowl review is just the amount of kibble that isn't featured on the undercarriage. I mean, this thing rivals the Alternator series. I mean, save for the red bits, if they were black, you'd be hard-pressed to think this had robot bits hanging out underneath the car at all. Takara definitely gets more and more of my credit and respect the more they bring out these Masterpiece figures. Now, unfortunately, I do have a bit of a confession to make. This isn't official. I know, what horrible Transformer etiquette I have. If I love it so much, why don't I support the original? Well, I'm poor. I can't afford the real thing. So to compare and see what the differences might be, let's bring on an official Takara release. And that would be Prowl. First off, here's the headlights. And they look near identical. I honestly can't tell much apart from them. And frankly, neither can you with this fuzzy camera focus. The Z-Crest looks identical, as do the tires and rims. And the taillights would look exactly the same as well if it weren't for the repro labels I applied to Prowl, which, might I say, is a much-deserved upgrade kit. I plan on getting the Bluestreak edition as well, to be completely honest. One thing to note, though, I noticed the Takara edition has a bigger panel gap along the rear window than the knockoff does. The knockoff, though, retains the plastic windows that the original had on Bluestreak, and not only that, but somehow the paint looks much cleaner on the knockoff. I mean, look at the gloss in the rear section of the car. That is incredible, the amount of detail that went into this. Also, a side note, I feel the red inside the rear windows work really, really well. It matches the rest of the interior of the car. I mean, look at the inside of the doors later in this review. And just looks like the top of the back seats would in real life. I find they even work better than Prowl's, which come off as a little bland for me. So that's car mode for you. I love it! I think it was completely worth the money I paid for. Heck, it was even cheaper than Hasbro's will be when it makes its Toys R Us appearance, as that set is a $60 price point. You honestly can't beat this sort of quality for the price, and that's after shipping. Knockoff speak aside, Bluestreak in general I think is now my favorite Fairlady vehicle. The colors just work for this character and totally passes off as an awesome sports car. Now since the transformation is identical, we're going to jump over to the MP17 review. On the bottom, pull the arms out and separate them. Split the car in two and pull the doors out. Then pull up the roof and the middle part of the hood. On the bottom, rotate the head around, and then you're going to want to fold the fenders in, which is a nice touch in my opinion. After that, start rotating the front of the car section down and click the chest plate into the front chassis, which on my figure is an incredibly stiff connection point both putting on and taking off, which has me worried I'm going to snap it off one day. I really hope not. Rotate the shoulder cannons out, fold in the hood, and tab the windshield in behind his shoulders. On the bottom of the car, fold out these inner plates, followed by what will then become the heels, and then split the rear section in two. On the top, split the rear windows from the rear fenders and swing them around on their hinge. Extend the shin from the thigh, rotate the foot forward, and swing the inner panels around again. Fold the windows from the car doors down that are on his heels, and then just like G1, spin the torso around, replace the gun, and you're done. Now here he is, Masterpiece Bluestreak MP18. And man, the addition of the red of what I already thought was an awesome color scheme. I love this guy to bits. As far as knockoff quality goes, the plastic feels just as dense as Prowl did. The color of the plastic seems spot on. As mentioned before, take a look at the inside of these doors. They're the exact same color you'll see behind the rear window in vehicle mode. And that's why I think the colors in this guy work so stinking well. I mean, this really gives off the feel of a high-end sports car. Man, I can't even say that enough. And the joints haven't failed me yet. The only issue being one of the double joints in the right arm isn't as tight as it could be, but can still hold quite a few poses. Speaking of that, articulation! His articulation features the same head as all the other Masterpieces with left and right and up and downward motion, moving shoulder cannon, opening and closing doors, double ball-jointed shoulders, swiveling elbows, double-jointed elbows, heck yes, and opening hand like Sideswipe. and swiveling waist. Thank you, required transformation. Opening side flaps to allow for the universal jointed legs with a wide range of motion. Rotating thigh, double jointed knee, and a rotating ankle. So that was all the articulation, and like I said, the joints in this figure are tight enough to pull this off. I mean, give this figure to anyone. It's a downright replica, especially when you put it next to Prowl. Like, if I didn't know any better, I would honestly think this were the real deal. Or even put it with the rest of the Masterpiece line. So, while I can't exactly recommend this in good conscience, I will say this. Get the Takara, or wait for the Hasbro editions of this figure, if you can. I mean, this is a figure that I'd gladly pay the full price for if I could afford it. But if, like me, you can't afford it, this would be your route to go if you're okay buying knockoffs, as whoever this company is, they definitely seem to know what they're doing. This has been the Lazy Eyebrow Reviewer.